she worked for the state of California. I was born and raised in California, and she worked for the sheriff's department and the alcohol beverage control. Now that it's called the ABC. It's a state organization that controls the license for liquor, and she was a secretary. And they had lots of parties, and my mom brought me to one of the state parties, and there was a guy. He was from Manila. His name was Rick. Now I was only about 10 years old, so I was knee-high to a grasshopper tall. I was a little guy, and I didn't know much about the world or anything because I was pretty sheltered. And this guy was so nice, and he was interested in me and what I was doing. I was into sports and stuff, and he was the nicest person. And I turned to my mom, stopped Rick, and I said, "Who is this guy? He's very nice. He's one of the nicest guys I ever met." And my mom said, "Well, that's Rick. He's from Manila. He's Filipino." I said, "Filipino? What's a Filipino?" And my mom, she said, "Well, there's a country called the Philippines, and Rick is from that country." And I'm like, "Really?" And he just was always nice to me. He's always friendly. He's always like chatting with me and stuff. And I was really shocked. And he left an impression on me. And I was always impressed by my first impression of a Filipino. That was Rick. And I think his son passed away or something. And I went to one of his funerals, the funeral in California when I was there. And he gave me his address in Manila. And I was always trying to get a hold of Rick, but I never could get a hold of him for some reason. He was unreachable, I guess. But Rick was a really nice guy from Manila, and I sent him lots of letters and stuff. He was getting old, I guess, but when I knew him, I was only a little boy, so he was like in his 30s or something. And he came to America to like life, to get retirement. You know, America has a better security than most countries. So Rick, he worked for the state of California, Filipino guy, one of the nicest guys I ever met. And then he retired and went back to the Philippines and took his pension with him back. And that's really great. So I was trying for years to get a hold of Rick, and I just never could find him. And I sent him letters and stuff in Manila, and I just couldn't find this guy. But you know, it's good as a Filipino to leave a good impression on people. And I was just a little 10-year-old boy. I didn't even know what a Filipino was. But I just knew that this guy was so nice, and he left such an impression on me that he was such a good guy. And that's really kind of what Filipinos do a lot, is they have a good image about themselves, and they're kind. You know, the Filipinos have most Filipinos, they have a good aura about them, and they treat people good. Of course, you don't want to treat people bad, and of course, if you do bad to people, you know, things can happen. But if you just treat the people respectful and kind, you know, like, the goodness will come back to you. So Rick was an early day guy that I always remembered. And I had no idea where the Philippines was because I was in California. I was going to Disneyland every day, going to the baseball games. I was just a little kid. But I always remembered that experience. And even other parties, when I saw Rick, he's always like putting his arm around me, saying, "Hi, Brian, like, tell me more about your life, like what you doing and stuff." And I was always like, dang, this guy's nice. And he's like Filipino dude. But it was really a good experience. And later on, after I went to college and stuff, I was doing loans for houses for a little while. And I did the second trust deed. They don't do that in the Philippines, but in America, they did the second trust deed. And this Filipino guy was one of my customers. And he was such a nice guy. And I said, he looked different. So I was like, I know this guy wasn't from California. And I said, like, where are you from? Like, what country? And he goes, I'm from the Philippines. And I said, oh, you're a very nice guy. You know, you're cool. And so the guy did the loan. He was very cool. And after we finished doing the work, he had this big party. You know, Filipinos, they like to party. They like to eat food. And they had a big lechon pig and just this big smorgasbord of food. Filipinos love to eat. They like rice, they like pork, they like chicken. And I kind of wasn't used to Philippine food, to be honest with you. And I was a little younger and stuff, and I still didn't know much about the Philippines. And I ate the food and stuff, but probably wasn't my favorite food of all time, but it was okay. And he was such a nice guy, and so I always had a good image, you know, of the Philippines and the people. And I always kind of felt that the people in the Philippines had a good heart. And when I came to the Philippines and like saw such good people, and I saw like how people were respectful. A lot of the people were not very respectful, especially the elderly people. They were rude, obnoxious. It's like they had a problem. But when I came to the Philippines, people were really nice. And I almost didn't come to the Philippines because I used to work out at the Tuscan, and a gym instructor, I think he might have been Filipino or something, he was talking about the Philippines. And I'm like, I'm going to the Philippines soon. Like, what's happening here? And he said, well, I had a friend that went to the Philippines, like a foreigner friend. And I think he passed away or something in the Philippines when he went. And so I was listening, I was eavesdropping on this conversation. And he said, like, it's better not to go to the Philippines. And I had already bought my ticket to the Philippines for my first time. And I'm getting scared. I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like, hello. We got a couple people. Hello. Donna, Jonah, white men. Hi. We're here in the Philippines. We're in the Visayas on the beach. I'm doing motorcycle riding. You see my motorcycle tracks? And I'm riding on the beach. I have such a fun time in the Philippines. That's so cool. But getting back to the story, so I'm getting ready to like come to the Philippines for my first time, and I'm scared. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to die. I don't want to go to the Philippines and just like die in 1 week. So I said, well, Brian, you got your ticket. You have your airplane ticket from Los Angeles International Airport. You got to go to the Philippines. And so I was nervous and I was scared because I was afraid like the guy died like of drinking the water or something like that. So I didn't know what to do. So I filled my bag, my suitcase full of water and like food. It was heavy. And I paid all this money for overage. I didn't care because I said, you know what? I'm scared in the Philippines. I think I'm gonna maybe eat the wrong food or drink the water wrong or something. And I don't wanna go away. So I had so much water and food. It was like crazy. I never did that again, but I get to the Philippines and I'm scared. Like at the restaurant, they said, you know, do you want water? And I'd have water. And I said, no, I have my own water. And I would never like drink food from the restaurant, fear of the ice being contaminated. But I didn't realize at the time that the Philippines is probably like one of the most cleanest waters in the world. So I was scared to death. And I just like experienced such nice people when I got to the Philippines. And it left a mark on me, just like Rick did and the guy that I did the loan for. The people were so nice, you know, they were calling me sir, and they were just treating me with lots of respect. And it was really nice to like be in a place like that, because I lived in California, in Orange County, and I had a neighbor named Spike, and we had these green trash cans, and you'd only could fill up these for once a week. And we had the trash man come, and Spike was an old man. He's passed away, rest in peace. And he didn't have anything in his trash. And I always had lots of trash. So I asked Spike, like, could I use your trash can and like put some of my trash in there? Because, you know, the trash man was coming and he didn't have hardly any trash. And Spike would say like, no, you can't use my trash can. Now, the trash man's coming in 2 minutes. It's not there all week. And I said, but the trash man's coming in like 2 minutes. And he said, no, you can't use my trash can. That's my trash can. You can't use my trash can. And I was like, what a load of crap, you know? Like, I would let anybody use my trash can if the trash man, of course, I don't want the trash sitting there all week. But if the trash man's coming in like 2 minutes, I didn't think it was a big deal. So I was used to kind of like people just like being cold and being rude. And it happened like at the post office, my business, I had a construction company, and I ran a lot of my business mail out of the post office box. And yeah, that's not a KLX 300, that's the 150. I could have bought the 300, but I like the 150 because when I go in the mountains and stuff, it's very light, and it has the 2118 wheels, and if I fall down in the mountains, it's very light to pick up. But I have some big bikes, and they're just too heavy when I'm riding, because you know the Filipino guys are crazy. You know, they go up in the mountains and they ride extreme like areas. So a lot of times I would like my bike would fall down, like falling off a mountain, and then like I couldn't pick my bike up because I'm so tired. Sometimes I was out of like water. And the Philippines is really fun for like motorcycle riding. I'll get back to my story. And it's just like you want like a light motorcycle when you go in the mountains and stuff. It's not the fastest bike of all time. It's a little on the slower side, but I modified it with a muffler and a 28mm carburetor. So the bike has a little bit of spunk, but I bought it brand new from the Kawasaki dealership about 8 months ago, and it's a fun bike. It's fun. It's like a little toy. And I have a little motocross track at my house, and I just bought it to ride there, but I find that it's one of my favorite bikes. I've got a few bikes, and this is really the most fun bike because it's a little toy. So, but it's the 150, and you know, a lot of the Filipino dudes, they love the 150 because it's smaller for, let's say, 5'7" guys. And you're welcome. You're welcome. So the 150 KLX is really great, especially for Filipinos, and for me too. I'm a little bigger than a Filipino guy, it's taller, but still it's fun, and I have a great time riding the KLX. Good time. I was thinking about buying 2 of them. They're so fun. So anyways, I was used to, getting back to the story, I used to like people being rude and people being jerks, and I just like figured that's the way life was, you know, people are just rude. And when I go to the mailbox and get my like business mail, people were always sour, and they're always like mad and angry, and they just had a bad like aura about them. And a couple times I said hi to the people because they looked right at me really angry. And then they would say like, what do you want? Why do you talk to me? What's wrong with you? I was like, dang, these people, I got a problem or something. Because I'm a pretty easygoing guy, you know, like I don't like that kind of behavior. And I grew up kind of going to the Hawaii, so I have a lot of Hawaiian sort of spirit about me. When I was younger, my family had a condo in Hawaii, a timeshare, and I'd go to Hawaii all the time, and I just loved it. I learned to scuba dive, and I would enjoy like the Hawaiian spirit, the vibes, the laid back vibes. You know, Hawaiian music's really cool. I love the hula dancing. I like the storytelling and like music. I like the history. I like the vibes of the Hawaiian people. It's cool. And I would never talk bad about Hawaii or the people. They don't like Americans that much because 1959, Hawaii became the 50th state in Hawaii. So the people, some of them are a little sour, but Hawaii, the spirit of Hawaii is really fantastic. And the spirit of the Philippines also is fantastic. I think it's different, but I just always enjoy that laid back vibe. And that's why I like the Philippines, because the people are pretty cool in the Philippines and they're laid back mostly. They're considerate. And a lot of times, like on my YouTube channel, I do a lot of motorcycle shows. I'm a retired champion motorcycle rider in America. And some of the people, especially from like England and stuff, I hope you're not from England, they're just rude, you know, they just make bad comments and they're nasty. Some people are really nasty, but you know, in the Philippines, the people, they're not nasty. They're always nice and they're always considerate. I rarely have like anyone from the Philippines talk bad. And that's a compliment to the Filipinos, because in America, a lot of the people are really rude and they talk like lots of stuff. And they're rude, you know, like when you're like making a video or something, you don't need people like telling you how terrible you are. Because if I'm so terrible, why don't you get out and make a video? But in the Philippines, it's not like that because the people are so cool. And living in the Philippines for a long time now, I've just really appreciated, you know, the culture of the Philippines, and the people are just nice. The key to the Filipinos is just be nice. You know, just be, don't do bad things, just mind your own business, be nice. I always try to be nice to people without being taken advantage of. And, you know, I try to be good, you know, like I give lots of I have lots of fruits at my house, and then I give lots of fruits. Just now I gave some papayas to my neighbors, and there's a bunch of neighbors. You know, Filipinos have big families. So I give all my papayas except for the ones I eat away. And I just do it as a gift. And all the kids, like from the little babies to the older kids, I have some like suckers and candy. I always give candy to the kids, and I always try to be nice to the people, because if you're nice to the Filipinos, they will watch out for you, you know, they will care for you, and they will like have your back. And even at the house, they're my CCTVs. I have a CCTV, so that's not a problem. But the Filipino people, like the other day, I had my motorcycle friend, my riding partner, Adonis, came over, and he was picking up a spark plug wrench for my big bike, my Husqvarna. And my neighbors are just watching like this guy. They're just watching like, who is this guy? Why is he over to see Brian? What's happening? Because I don't usually have like a lot of people coming to my house. And so when somebody came to my house, like people are like, what's happening here? Like, because I keep my life pretty private and I don't have people coming to my house. I keep everything kind of quiet. And so my neighbors, the ones that I'm always good to, they're really watching, and I'm like, that's good. That's good. This guy is only picking up a spark plug wrench for my Husqvarna, but it's nice to see that the Philippine people like have your back. You know, they watch out for each other. Of course, if they don't like you, maybe they won't do that. But they like me. And every Christmas for many years now, I buy lots of like toys and stuff and presents, lots, like bags full. And I give them all to the neighborhood kids all over the whole barangay. And the kids have Christmas, you know, like they get to enjoy the spirit of Christmas, and you get to see like the parents, you know, happy, and you get to see the look in the kids' eyes, you know, when you give them gifts and we wrap them and they open the gifts. They're so happy because I was raised where we had lots of gifts. You know, Christmas was really fun when I was a kid, and I would have a Christmas tree full of presents. I had great parents, and they just always made my Christmas special until I told them I didn't believe in Santa Claus. And then they said, okay, no Christmas. And I said, I believe in Santa Claus. I believe. Give me presents. Santa's real. But they were kind of mad when I said that. One Christmas, I hid behind the sofa because I didn't really know if Santa was real or not. And I waited for Santa. I wanted to see him drink his milk and eat his cookies. And then I saw my parents. And I was like, oh. I was very shocked. I was very sad, like, ah. But it's nice to give the kids Christmas. And it's nice to have the spirit of Christmas, you know, like to see the look of children's eyes so happy and so like enjoying that spirit of Christmas. And sad to say, where I live in the province, a lot of the kids don't have that. I'm sure that some do though, but a lot of kids mostly don't have that. So it's really a special blessing for me to give, because giving is more special, especially to poor people, to children, to people in need. You know, giving is really makes you feel good. And I've been doing it for years, and it makes me feel so good. It's like one of the happiest times of the year is when Christmas comes, and I can like wrap the presents for the kids, and you know, yeah, thanks for the comment. Yeah, you got to treat the people the way you want to be treated. And that's true, you know, Filipinos are touchy. You know, if you're nice to them, they'll be nice back. And if you're a jerk to Filipinos, they will make your life trouble. So I just like being nice anyways. I'm not nice like plastic. It's always easier to be nice. It's always easier to smile. It's always easier to be cool than to be a jerk. And the world is full of jerks anyways. And I know there's a lot of foreigners where I live in the areas that I don't hang out with a lot of the foreigners, to be honest with you, because a lot of them are jerks. And they just like, they're heavy drinkers. They like to carouse, you know, women and things like that. Heavy, like I say, smokers, drinkers, and they're disrespectful, a lot of these guys. And I'm not like that, and I don't drink and smoke, and I try to live a clean life, and I do. And so that's kind of the reason why I don't hang out with foreigners. So I don't hang out with a lot of people, really. My YouTube channel is kind of where I hang out with you. But I don't really need a lot of friends. Like, I'm not born to be like a clingy to many guys and many people. Like, I have to have a friend or I'm gonna cry. I make my own fun. You know what? I get on this KLX and I burn the beach. See the beach? I just got on it. I have fun. You know, you can have fun without like having a million people with you. And you can make your own fun, because when I was a little boy, I had two sisters. I have two sisters, but they're older than me, like 9 and 12 years older than me. I probably was like a whoops, but it's okay because, you know, I'm here.